So here we're going to try another way of tracing an image. What I've done with this particular document is I've brought a trace image in. This trace image right here is an image that I drew using a pen on a piece of paper, and then I scanned. And then I went to the File menu. I placed this file. Here it is. It's on a layer called Trace. I have two other layers here called Work, and then I have a final layer, which I will show you in a minute what the final layer is all about. But in the first place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to lock the trace layer. Because what I'm going to do with this is, obviously, you look at this line art. The line art is not good enough for me to do a trace from. It's way too weak and it just will not come up. But what I do want to do is I want to use another tool, which is the pen tool right here. And I'm going to tear out the pen tools and bring them out over here. I'm going to use the pen tool to come in here, and I'm going to trace these letters off. And then I'm going to turn them into a special effect, kind of a title for a CD that I'm creating. So in order to do this, I got to get on the work layer, because I'm going to be doing my tracing from this bitmap that I brought in on the trace layer, and I'm going to get the pen tool, and I'm going to start by coming over here, and I'm going to click at the very beginning of the letter J, and then I'm going to come down to, I don't know, maybe like about there, and I'm going to drag my line out until I get a curving line that I kind of like. And when you do this, oh, by the way, I have a fill and a stroke over here, and right now there's a fill of white, which I don't need at all, so I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to set it to be black. So now I have a fill of none and a stroke of black. And if I look up here, let's see, in my stroke panel, let's see here what I got for a stroke. I got a 1-point stroke. Okay? So 1-point stroke. So now that I've done this, what I got to do is I got to go back and get my pen tool, and I got to come down and I got to click to reattach myself to this line that I'm working on. And I do that by clicking on the anchor point. When I do this, what it does is it changes the line from a curve point to a straight point. That you can see that has happened because it should retract the control handle on the one side. So if I move over to here, watch what happens. I click on the line and I get a straight line segment. I'm holding the mouse down and I'm going to drag to create a shape that I kind of want for that area of the letter J. And I think I'm probably pretty good right about there. Let's see if that's probably, yeah, it's very good as a matter of fact. Now I want to show you something. While this control handle is out, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click to place my point right there. Do you see what happens? My curving line goes way out beyond where I want it to go. So that is not what I'm looking for at all, and as a matter of fact, it creates a big problem for me. So I'm going to let go, and I'm going to go Control-Z, Edit Undo, and that brings me back to where I am at that point. In order to fix this, I'm going to come over and again click on that anchor, and you'll see the little V. That's what's called the Convert Anchor Point tool. And I click on that, and it retracts that control handle, giving me a straight line segment that when I come over here and click, I can then drag out to create the line segment in the direction and at the angle that I want. And I got to get this angle right. So I'm going to bring the angle up a little bit, and I'm going to make sure what I'm doing is I'm looking at, I'm going to let go of this. I'm looking at that point right there and that point right there, because this has got to continue around and it's got to look right. And it looks okay. I probably am going to have to work on this a little bit, so I'm not that concerned at this point. But once again, what I'm going to do is come over here and click on this anchor point, and then I'm going to come all the way over to here and click, and again I got a straight line segment which I'm going to drag out to create the shape that I'm looking for, which is probably about like that. And yeah, that don't look too bad. Alright, now I'm going to deselect this for a second because I want to show you what I've done. There is my letter J. I know it doesn't look like much yet, but it will look a lot better soon. But it's a pretty cool J. It's working pretty well. The 1 point right here is a little bit off, and I can easily fix that. I'll show you how. By getting out my direct selection tool and clicking on that point. and I can come in here and I can maneuver the anchor point slightly, and I actually think that's good. That'll work. Okay, so really I can come in and I can click these points. The thing that you have to realize is that once I have this done, if I'm going to continue working on this, let me bring back my trace. If I'm going to continue working on this, I have to get the pen tool and I have to go back to the last point where I was and I have to reattach to that line. That's the first thing that you have to do. Then I can continue moving around in the direction of my letters and I can continue to build my letter, which I'm going to do like that. And again, if I come over here and click, I don't get the right curve because the curving line is not right for this. So what I want to do is I want to come back in and I want to convert that so that I can control the angle of this line like this by dragging. So that's the process involved in this right now. And then I'm going to come and do it again. Click here. And then I'm going to go up to this point right here. And I'm going to click and I'll just draw the line as best I want it drawn. And then once again I'm going to click it. And I'm going to start bringing it down onto the center of the A. Bring it down about like that. Once again click the point. Come to the end of the A. Click and drag until I get my entire A. Hey, you know what? That looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to deselect this thing and I'm going to hide my trace, and there's my JA. There's a couple of little spots here. You saw how I cleaned this up a little bit. You can clean this up that same way. I'm not really going to worry about this right now because the bottom line is I just want to show you how to draw this at this point. And of course, you fix this by clicking, and then just maneuvering the handles around until you get the line doing what you want it to do. So it's really a matter of working with the direct selection tool and the anchor point and these control arms to get you what you want as far as the look of these letters. Then of course you're going to draw using the pen tool. Okay? So those are the basic steps in creating the letters. Bring this back and I'll do one more letter for you, and that's the Z. So I'm going to click here. I'm following the line here. So and this is another thing that's very important. This tracing is a rough tracing. So the ultimate goal here is to come up with a nice letter J-A-Z-Z. And you're going to do this by eye using the trace as something that you follow. But you don't have to be exactly on the money with the trace. It should be close enough that you're following it, but you're trying to improve it as you go along as well. So there is my first section of the first Z. And then I'll come down to about here. And I'll create a line, give it the curve that I want, click it again, and come over and finish that Z, give it a curve, and there is my letter Z. So there it is, and you just continue doing that to finish off the jazz. Okay? So that's it. It's really simple. Now, let's take a look at what this looks like. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one more thing that I want to talk to you about. So let's say, for instance, I got this thing done. Now I've got the J-A-Z-Z done. So what I want to do is I want to turn this into a piece of art. And the next step is I'm going to come up into the stroke, and since it is a stroke, I'm going to add some weight to the stroke. 5 is probably okay. Let's try maybe 6. 6 is good. So I got the stroke started, and now I got that looking pretty strong and pretty dynamic. What I don't like is I don't like these abrupt endings. There are abrupt endings on these letters, and I don't like the pointed edges that you see on the letter Z. So there is a way that I can fix that, and I'm going to select it, go to the window menu, and then find the stroke palette. There it is, the stroke palette. I'm going to bring up the stroke palette, and we have what are known as caps and corners, and they're for the points. So here we have the corners, and this corner is set to this corner, which is a miter corner. And what I want to do is I want to change it to a round corner. And when I do that, you see how many of these things turn immediately into a nice round corner. There's still a couple, though, because they're end caps that are still, still kind of flat. So what I'm going to do is I want to fix them, and by doing this with the caps, the round caps instead of the butt caps, they're all fixed. So now I've got a really nice look to this. And it's really just a matter of having the object selected and changing your caps and your corner points, your miter joints, to a round joint, and your butt cap to a round cap. Really simple to do this. So it's a combination of the stroke palette and the weight of the stroke that does this. So let's now close this off, and let's take a look at the final. So this is my cleaned up version. So let's imagine that what we've done here is we've jumped ahead and we've cleaned this whole thing up. And now we have this really nice jazz design. And what I did, just so that you know, I changed the color of this because, oh, you know what? There is one more step that I really should show you. Let me go back again. I'm sorry. This is currently a stroke. And what I want to do before I go into step 3, the final, is I want to convert this into a fill. So I do that by going up to the object menu, and I'm going to come to path, and I'm going to outline the stroke. And that's it. That's all there is to it. I've actually changed this thing from a stroke into a filled path, and you'll notice that there's no longer any color on the stroke because the strokes don't exist anymore. It's become literally a path, and it's filled. So if I wanted to, I could come in here and I could click on white, and now that is a white object and it's against a white background. That leads me to this point right here, which is where we are. We have this object. It is basically set up on a black background with white. And the only reason the black background is here is so that you could see the actual white letters. The background is just something that's there as a help. All right? So what I want to do with this now is, and this actually looks pretty good, but I want to make it look even better. Illustrator has the ability to do some really fun things. One of the fun things that you can do with Illustrator is you can create an extrude. You can go in and you can work with some 3D kind of appearances with this. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to select this, and it's grouped, so it's all going to select. I'm going to go up into the Effect menu, and I have right here 3D, Extrude and Bevel, Revolve, and Rotate. I'm not going to get into a big discussion about 3D because this isn't about 3D. This is just about creating a really nice type effect. But if you were to work with 3D, and if you were to work with Extrude and Bevel on this particular project, like I'm going to do, and I let go, you get the 3D Extrude and Bevel dialog box. In this dialog box, you have a bunch of different positions, which I encourage you to come in and play with. You also have these settings over here, which you can put numbers into. You also have this really nice little icon. This icon is what I tend to use. The blue area represents the front face, and then these two gray areas represent the top and the side that's showing. And all you have to do is click on that icon and move it, drag it around to move it. And what you're doing essentially is you're changing the positioning of the 3D extrude that you're about to create. I like working with this, and I think I want something that looks sort of like that. I want it to be mostly front with just a little bit of side and top showing. So I'm positioning this where I want it, which is about right there. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to hit Preview. And look at that. It comes right out. Now, the other thing that you could do here, which I think you'll really enjoy, is you can come and you can work with the extrude depth. I like 50, and I'm going to probably leave it at 50, but I want to show you what it does. So I'm going to drag it out. Look at that. It creates this really nice, deep, jazzy letter if you want to use this. I, as I say, think probably around 50 is good, so I'm going to stay with 50, go back to 50, and I'm going to hit OK. All right, so there we've now created this look, which I think is pretty sensational, considering that, we basically got something that's a flat piece of art, and now it's turned into something that's got some direction. I want to even take this a bit further, though. I want to give this even more pizzazz. So once again, I'm going to select it, and I'm going to use what are known as graphic styles. If you come into the window menu, you can come down here and you can find graphic styles right there. The graphic style that I'm using is called 3D Effect, and where you find the 3D Effect is, here's your menu item. You're going to click on the menu item. You're going to come down to Open Graphic Style Library. And in here you've got 3D Effects, additive blob brush, additive artistics. There's all kinds in here. And all I can tell you is I don't have the time to really go through all this, but you really should go in and take a look at all this stuff. I did go into the 3D effect, and I pulled out for you this one right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this object, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to apply this 3D effect to this. There you go. I mean, it's really simple. It looks like an incredible logo, and it started with me doing nothing more than a trace, and then drawing the thing out, putting some depth to the stroke, and then turning the stroke into an object, going into 3D, and then putting this effect onto it. That is it. We are done. I hope you can follow this, and I hope you can give it a try. Thank you.